the SM Media Podcast Network. Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the Ref's View, part of the SM Media Podcast Network. I'm Scott McPike. It is always a delight to be your host, and the final Old Firm game is in the bag. I think we're going to have a busy episode talking about some other things though that happened over the weekend. First of all, thanks very much to our sponsors Beeks, Roxburgh Group and Exacta Concrete Flooring on their support on the channel. It is always a delight to welcome my two co-hosts. First of all, Des Roach.
I'm very good, guys. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And as always, a pleasure to be joined by Steve Conroy.
Hello, guys. Lovely evening for once.
It's very good, yeah. It's a nice night, and it's looking like it's going to stay this way for a few days. I quite enjoy the sun at this time of the year. There's a right end of season feel to the season, and it's just kind of at the stage we just want it done.
Right. It's just out, just cut it. Nothing, yeah. Other than we'll let St Johnstone and Ross County take the bottom two places and then just be done with it.
Yeah, we'll get into
that's probably the most interesting part of the season now, isn't it?
Aye.
Yeah, I mean the race for third isn't even a race for third. Aberdeen should have been home and dry, and Hibs have just came from nowhere. So and then obviously the managerial merry-go-round at Hearts. There's a new manager every 2 weeks, isn't there?
Yeah, well, I've heard a wee nibble today, but potentially who it might be.
Yeah, I think I've kind of heard the same murmur as well. We'll save that for a wee while, but I think people can maybe guess who it is. Rangers Celtic game ended 1-1. Des, you were doing obviously the hotline for the Daily Record. Couple of wee incidents, but you brought us an interesting stat before we started recording about the game that I'm sure you'll be glad to share with the world.
What stat was that one?
How many cautions were there?
There was only two. The first caution was for not a player on the pitch. I don't think that I've ever seen an Old Firm game that was so tame, that was so just nothing about it. And it actually took two teenagers, two subs to go into the park, Bailey Rice and Johnny Kenny. They were the two guys that were booked. Was it Bailey Rice was in 88 minutes and Kenny was in 90?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that is the ideal game. And this is what I'm going to go back to. This is why I said this was the best game to blood a new referee into this, rather than Nick Walsh. Now, Nick Walsh had a fantastic game. Nothing against what Nick done. But where is the pool that you're going to pick referees from coming forward? Celtic and Rangers have been strong enough to dip young players in there. The SFA should be dipping new referees in there as well. That's how you get experience. But yeah, to have two subs and two teenagers be the only yellow cards of an Old Firm game, I don't think you could get a bet on that.
Steve, is this just a thing though with the kind of modern game and that the modern fixture with these two teams where there isn't like you're looking through the sides and you're not? I don't see like an aggressive kind of full throttle player who's like the stereotypical type of person for this game. Like the closest you can maybe come to is Callum McGregor, and I wouldn't say like aggression is his thing.
No, we've said it for years. It's not died a death. It's calmed down, and a lot of it, thank God, it's behind us. But there isn't, we'll never ever, famous last words, we'll never see a game where you have McAvenny and Woods and Butcher all squaring up to each other. And obviously with the Celtic hat on, we're never going to have another like Roy Aitken, Billy McNeil, Peter Grant that's right in your face, and Rangers people will say the exact same. Those days are gone, and largely that's for the better. But it does make for kind of boring games like the weekend.
It was kind of came to life a wee bit. I thought, like, just in terms of the game, Rangers were aggressive. Celtic grew into the game into the second half, which they've tended to do this season in these games. The first incident, there was three kind of incidents that I think we can cover. We'll start with the Raskin disallowed goal. This isn't really contentious, Des, but
No.
VAR's brought in there for good purposes. I said as soon as the goal, I said he's offside. You could tell just by the shot line. It is what it is. But again, like in that regard, VAR's there to do one job and it does it without any issue.
Yeah. Listen, Steve's been critical of Andrew Dallas previously, but he got that one right. That was offside. Nobody can have any contention over that.
Yep.
Second one was the goal that actually got given. It was initially flagged. I think it was initially flagged for offside, but there was something jumping out to me. Was there a foul in the build-up? I think was checked as well. They were checking the attacking phase of play for potential foul last scene, but I don't know where the foul is. But I think the big issue with this was, I think the reason it took so long, Steve, was they didn't know if Maeda's probably offside, but the issue was, did they think he was interfering with Kelly's line of vision? Do you think? Yeah. Are you happy with the goal?
Yeah, not interfering with his line of vision at all. And we'll contrast it with another offside incident we'll talk about later on.
Yeah,
he stood still. He knew he was in an offside position. Stood still, took himself out of active play, and we'll say that phrase again, Des. Active play, and he wasn't in Kelly's line of vision. Kelly still made a damn good effort at stopping it. What a deflection! So no issue with it at all.
There's the only other thing that was mentioned in this goal was, did Suter potentially handle the ball? Again, it makes no difference though, because the ball went in. Like, no issues with the goal on your end either.
Yeah, none at all. Absolutely none at all. He does had a clean strike at the ball, and as Steve said, Maida has got no impact on Liam Kelly's view of that goal. So yeah, absolutely fine. No problem with that whatsoever.
One potentially contentious decision was, there was a potential penalty check for Rangers. Yanis Hadji and Callum McGregor sort of came together. Yanis Hadji went off injured because of this. There has been talk of a potential penalty. Steve, where are you on this?
No, never a penalty. And the fact that people seem to draw conclusions that somebody goes off injured. Football's a contact game. People get injured, and the one doesn't always go with the other. So no, not for me. Never a penalty. I'm glad it wasn't made that much of an issue over. And speedy recovery to Hadji, but that's the consequences of football sometimes.
Des, I think if Hadji didn't go off, I don't think we'd even be discussing this.
It's an absolute non-event.
Yep.
Nothing in it at all.
It's
All that's happened there is Callum McGregor's turned his body. Unfortunately, Hadji's get injured, but as Steve correctly said, it's a contact sport. Yet sometimes these happen, and I hope Hadji's not terribly seriously injured. I hope he gets back to fitness full away. But nah, nobody's even looking at that one.
So overall, with this game, obviously the fifth Rangers Celtic game of the season, we're giving kind of pass marks to the officiating team.
Yeah, that shouldn't have been the officiating team. Same as Des. The least important Celtic Rangers game in years. Give it to a new person. But the SFA has always failed to grasp the opportunity. But that's a long-winded way of saying, can't argue with the ref team.
Is the problem with that though that they don't want to put somebody who's never done that game before in that position in case something happens, and then they are kind of hung out to dry? But as Des rightfully says, how are you going to let a referee get experience if you don't throw them in?
Yeah, if we have that thinking, then we will never ever have a new person. You've always got to blood new people. And just now, if we're talking about how shallow the pool is, we don't know how shallow the pool is because they refuse point blank to bring new people in, despite the current bunch continually, or certain among them, continually making the same mistakes, but continually getting the big games.
Who would have got it though? Who's in the running to get it? Like who?
I think there's only two.
The Celtic Rangers game.
Yeah, who do you think could have been in that position? And I'm totally in agreement. I think we do need some new faces and new people given that opportunity. But who's there that you would trust for that game?
I think at this minute in time, because they've been given individuals, Celtic v Sunday and Rangers v Sunday, I think the only two people that they probably could trust is David Dickinson and Ross Hardy. And bear in mind, both will get FIFA badges. So that's as high as you can get in Scotland.
Aye.
Now, John Beaton is coming towards the end of his career. Steve McLean is coming towards the end of his career. You've got to put people in. You've got to give them the opportunity. And listen, see they get it wrong. Absolutely fine. No bother. But
you can make mistakes, but we're talking about how dull this game was. That's going to change the next time it's a Celtic Rangers Cup final.
Yeah. Is this not the best game? Oh, I don't mean that, sorry. It's the best game and it's the best derby in the world. But is this not the most appropriate game to try and feed something new in?
Missed the trick.
Yeah.
Because we've only got, I'm just looking here, like John Beaton, David Dickinson, Ross Hardy, Matthew McDermott, Don Robertson, Nick Walsh. Like, well, one of them certainly isn't ready for it. And, well, Don, Nick and John have all had through these games this season. Ross and David could get them. But again, like, I just feel as if it's very, very difficult. I can so totally understand where you are coming from, but also think that the big issue is I don't think they're putting a referee in that position at this point. I think it is just the same crop that they just stand by. Like,
and they're in Scott is that's a development problem.
Yeah,
and that's the refereeing department development.
But what's David Dickinson thinking? You know, all hell, and I hate to personalise it, but everything Matthew touched turns to crap just now.
Yeah.
But he keeps getting all these games. At what point does David think, you know, what the hell do I have to do to get? And I know Matthew hasn't done Celtic Rangers, but I'll bet he was in with a shout before some of his last calamitous mistakes. What does David Dickinson have to do?
Yeah, don't disagree.
Let's go to Saturday where a couple of games, nothing really happened. Hibs and United, I didn't see an incident at all. Like, I thought it was quite a good game of football, actually. Hearts, probably the storyline from that was another manager they're looking for again. Let's go to Dundee versus Motherwell, because that has probably been the talking point of the weekend. Dundee, obviously, second disallowed. No, they scored. They actually went 2-0 up. Goal was disallowed after Clark Robertson was deemed to be offside and interfering with play. Michael Stewart has again shown his ineptitude for understanding the rules of football. But we put it out on Twitter. The big thing with this, Steve, is it doesn't matter what you think. We can think it's a bad decision. The refereeing team got it right because it is in the laws of the game.
Yes, but bottom line, and I'm glad you corrected yourself there and said the laws of the game. Now,
what did I say before that?
I keep saying it, that if I was a Dundee fan, I'd be absolutely blazing at that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's an appalling thing to have to do to knock off the goal of the season. But Robertson was offside, coming back from an offside position, coming into active play. It doesn't matter whether he interfered with the defender or whatever. He ran back into active play. He made himself active. That's offside. And if he had just stood still when it came away from him, just stood where he was, and I can't pronounce his name, the Dundee player still horsed it up into the top corner.
Nice.
No problem. But because he made himself active again, there's no option. It's offside. And I cannot believe some of the comments that pundits were making personally against VAR. So scandalous, some of the things they said about it. It's crappy that they had to be disallowed, but I'm sorry, that's the laws of the game.
Is that? It is like that's it.
Yeah, listen, while I personally, as a football fan, as a coach, as a manager, whatever I've done, I wouldn't like to see that called off, and I can totally understand Tony Docherty's remonstration about it. But it's the laws. And the law states that as soon as Clark Robertson has made that attempt to get back involved in active play, he's came from an offside position, so the goal cannot stand. It's not to everybody's liking, and Michael Stewart's made an absolute 100%, let's just say, he's not covered himself in glory because he doesn't know the laws of the game.
A hole there, Roach.
Sorry?
You dug yourself out a hole there.
I was never going to use any profanities.
But that's the issue, though. That's what annoys me about punditry here is it doesn't matter what you feel about the decision, right? We can all agree that it's a really bad situation that goal's been disallowed because it's such a good goal and it could have an implication on Dundee going into the playoffs, right? It could be that important a goal. But their cop-out in that regard is we don't like this because VAR has ruined... we can all agree that VAR has ruined our viewing pleasure as a football fan, right? That's no debate. But VAR has been brought in for one specific job, and in that regard, VAR has done the job correctly. But because these pundits don't like VAR and it feels as if it's ruining their version of what they want football to be, we'll completely ignore the laws of the game. There I go again. But instead, we'll focus on this is all about this. VAR shouldn't be here because it's ruining football. VAR's done the job. It's not VAR's fault that goal's been disallowed.
No.
That's what bugs my mince, honestly.
We bar like it or lump it. Yeah. Like it or lump it.
What's the best thing? Ronseal does what it says on the tin.
Yeah. There's been horrendous decisions. That is a horrendous outcome, but it's the correct decision. Yeah. And that's VAR did its job.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely correct that VAR's done its job. The other incident in this game was initially a yellow card given to Kortombis, eventually overturned to a red. Des, hard to disagree with the decision. Eventually, it's the VAR again gets the job right because it's a bad challenge.
100%, it's a red card. I'm actually quite surprised that Kevin never picked up on his own.
I don't think he sees it. I don't think he sees it right.
Yes, yeah. I will give that. I don't think he's seen it clearly. But as soon as Callum Scott's seen it as VAR, he's got him straight across. You can't tackle that. There was no demonstration from any Motherwell player after it as well. And as soon as he got it, you seen the Motherwell put his head in his shirt.
Aye.
Yeah, that's a dreadful challenge.
Yeah. Again, VAR did its job, and I'll defend the other members of the team, Kevin and whoever was the lino. It was just one of those ones that nobody had a good angle on it.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. I thought the angle was slightly off, but yeah, again, VAR does its job correctly in those two instances. We'll go to St Mirren 1, Aberdeen 0. Big win for St Mirren. A lot of talk about this as well. Aberdeen had a goal disallowed by Jeppe Ockels. It was judged that Kevin Nisbet handled the ball in the build-up to the Aberdeen goal. Steve, does he handle the ball?
Looks like it to me. Couldn't complain. But you're allowed to have your own opinions on it and your own view. But we've had much more celebrated discussion about the past this season about not seeing something that makes the on-field decision incompetent. Nothing. There's no absolute proof to say that Kevin Nisbet did not handle that ball. So I'm happy to go with it. Personally, I think he did, but happy to go with the decision.
Does Kevin Nisbet's in the position? He goes to the referee and basically says, "What can I do?" And I completely sympathise with that because it's not like he's went out his way to handle the ball. It is kind of hit off him to a degree. But again, the laws of the game state if it's a goal and the ball's handled in any way in a build up to a goal, the goal has to be disallowed.
It's the same. Sorry, but in this, who did Nisbet score against?
It was last week, wasn't it?
Was it Hibs game?
Aye, he bounced off his hand and then he leathered it straight in. You can't go straight from a handball. Sorry, we're discussing all the laws that we don't like, but they're still laws.
Yeah, listen. I don't think it was no, I don't think. I know it wasn't deliberate. The balls came off him. He's actually jumped trying to gain elevation. The balls hit him. But as Scott and yourself have quite rightly said, they've gained an advantage for a direct goal straight away. So yes, that goal cannot stand.
Yep.
And as I say, I don't think in any way that Kevin Nisbet has tried to be clever, tried to be cute. It's just one of those things. It was unfortunate, but you can't give a goal for that.
What do we think of the Morris incident on Mandron? No penalty. It was checked by VAR. Any issues with it?
No, no, no. I think Morris was just, again, Mandro's coming from behind him. He's just made a genuine attempt to play the ball. As I say, not every contact is a foul, and because it's not a foul, it's not a penalty kick.
Fair play to Mandron. He didn't make anything of it.
No, he didn't. He didn't. To be fair to him, he didn't.
St Johnstone nil, Kilmarnock 2. There's quite a few incidents on this. We'll start with one that I kind of noticed during the game. There was a couple of incidents involving kind of elbow and kind of forward movement with the arm. Ikpeazu was shown a yellow for basically, I think he does go up with his elbow, to be fair. Des, is there a case that could have been a red?
I don't think so. Is it the one against Finlay? Nah, I think he's just using his physique. He's using his space. He's put his arm out. I'm fine with a yellow card for that. I don't think there was nothing violent. There was nothing violent or serious in it. So, in my opinion, I think all he's done is he's tried to buy himself a bit of space. So, no, yellow card's fine for me.
And consistency wise, Steve, there's an incident literally like a minute later where David Watson kind of goes up in a similar movement and he isn't shown a card. Like, is there a difference between the two? Because a few people were asking me that. Like, why is one a yellow and one isn't?
The first one's a yellow, and I agree it's a yellow because Ikpeazu he did have his hand up. It was raised, but he was flapping it about more than anything else. He didn't direct it at anybody. Watson more just jumped into somebody with both elbows out a wee bit.
Mm-hmm.
Arms weren't up, they weren't directed at anybody. I like the word, a good bollocking's enough for that one. That doesn't even merit a yellow.
Okay. We'll go to the incident where Rory McKenzie was caught in the penalty box by Victor Griffith. Initially not given by the referee, but VAR overturns it. Des, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I think there was disappointed Ian didn't pick it up initially, but again, we've said previously that's what VAR's there for.
Yep.
They've picked up that it was a penalty. There was no contact with the ball, so yeah, it's a foul. And I know we said about with the Callum McGregor stuff earlier. If that was in the centre circle, would you be given a foul? That one is one you'd be given a foul for.
Steve, just in defence of your kind of mortal enemy, Mr. Dallas, he does get this one right, I think.
Yes, he does, and it was too hot. I have, everybody's allowed a good game. I'll say that, and this was his good game. Both interventions, he was quite right, but that doesn't take away what I've said about him previously. And we'll leave it at that.
Just a wee fascinating one. Do you know who was fourth official in this game?
Which one?
Matthew McDermott.
Matthew McDermott. We had said last week that he wasn't. I didn't see him in any sort of appointments, but he was fourth official here. I will lay 1 to 5 that he's got a game at the week this weekend.
I'm without a doubt.
I think he'll have a game because there's not many. Obviously, this is where the playoffs will start as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a game at the week. We'll probably find that out tomorrow. We are kind of getting to the end of the season where we will have one episode. I'm on holiday next week, so I'm just going to put that out there to everyone. I think I've told every single person I've spoke to that I'm on holiday next week.
Right.
We will be back. We'll do a wee end of the season special, I think. We'll maybe do some kind of takeaways for the season, I think, refereeing-wise.
We'll do that. Yep.
That's good. But we will be back then. Thank you very much to everyone who's tuned in and supported us over the season. We will see you all in the next couple of weeks. First of all, thank you to my guest, Steve Conroy.
Cheers. Have a good one, everybody.
Thank you very much. And to Des Roach, always a pleasure, mate. Thank you.
Always a pleasure, mate. Enjoy your holiday.
Thank you very much. We'll see you all soon. Thank you.